Hello, my name is Sarah Runyons, and this is Hyperlocal in Huntsville, Alabama. I feature someone that is usually a business owner, and this week we're featuring a nonprofit organization here in Huntsville. And many of you are going to recognize the name of it. It's Manna House. And today I'm featuring Fran Fluhler, who got it started, but honestly, she does not like the idea of taking any credit for this because she realizes that a lot of people are involved, and I know that it's not just her, but she has been an instrument that has been able to pull together so many people and resources for an amazing purpose here in Huntsville, Alabama. So, Fran, welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me to join you today.
You're welcome. And I'm just so honored that you have come on. And I would like to stop talking now and turn it over and let you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and what Manna House is all about.
You're so kind. Thank you so much. So, Manna House is, I like to say, an expression of God's love to the community. It's all cultures, all ages, all educational backgrounds, all faiths coming together to help feed our neighbors. And so, some people who come through are on a special new Mediterranean diet or a cardio diet, or maybe they're in chemo and they've got to change how they eat. And so, it's really wonderful to have all different kinds of people there who maybe they've had to make that same adjustment and they're able to say, oh, I can walk right through that with you. And they know what to do with that diet, what type of fresh fruits and vegetables and meats and or no meat, or
Mm-hmm.
what type of bakery items they should have or no bakery items. And so
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And it gives a sense of camaraderie that you're not alone and somebody's going through that with you. And then we also have people who come just for baby items. Maybe they just need
Mm-hmm.
diapers and wipes and they're okay on food, or maybe they just need food for their pet. And
Mm-hmm.
so I love how Manor House just all works together to just be
Mm-hmm.
what somebody in the community needs help with. And
Mm-hmm.
many of our volunteers are people that needed help a long time ago and they don't need help now. And they
Mm-hmm.
come and do that give back. So Manor House is, for me, it really builds my faith in humanity every day when I go and I see people just
Mm-hmm.
giving their time and their ability and their skill set to make a
Mm-hmm.
difference for somebody else who has a need. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I know for myself, and I'm actually a Huntsville native, but not even, you don't have to be a Huntsville native to know about Manor House. Um, do you recall like approximately when Manor House started? You may know exactly. I don't know, but when did it start?
Sure. So we've been in this location since December 4th of 2004. And
Okay.
so we've been there right at 21 years. And in just a few weeks, will be 21 years. And so people just came and started bringing what they had and what they
Mm-hmm.
could do for somebody else. And so for some people, it was a couple of cans of baby formula, and other people, it
Mm-hmm.
was a couple of bags of dog food.
Mm-hmm.
Other people that had a beautiful garden, they would be cucumbers and tomatoes and radishes and corn and things that people love to have, but maybe they weren't filling up to having a garden. And so it really brought a lot of joy to get those
Mm-hmm.
fresh fruits and vegetables. And so we began to buy fresh fruits and vegetables and meats and just things to try to meet that need. And then somebody
Mm-hmm.
came along and told us they needed toilet paper. I was like, oh, that's really important.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
carry that, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the community grew Man House because we
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to make a difference. We thought having some peanut butter and jelly and
Mm-hmm.
a few staple items was helpful, but we found out they really needed potatoes and sweet potatoes and okra and corn and
Mm-hmm.
healthy choices and
Yeah.
not just canned goods. And so that was a game changer for me. So I
Mm-hmm.
love that the community kind of formatted how we became fresh fruits and vegetables and
Mm-hmm.
frozen vegetables and meats and fruits over canned. And do we still have canned? Of course we do, because you
Mm-hmm.
always need some shelf stable items in your pantry.
Mm-hmm.
But our focus is to give you fresh so that you
Mm-hmm.
can eat healthier.
That is so awesome. And, I think that too, because you have immobilized people in the community, you're able to get more of those fresh things because, like you say, these are not all shelf stable items that you're sending out, and it'd be hard for like one person or two people or a small group of people even to keep that kind of inventory available. What are some ways? Well, okay, so you've been talking a little bit about this, but ways that your business connects with community and maybe also how that's facilitated, if that makes sense.
Right. So people can give money and we'll combine it all together. And then we buy most of the food that we give out. So I work with a lot of different people and we order the food and then it comes in or we go pick it up and we put it out in the pallets. And right now we're going through a lot of pallets a night because
Mhm.
our community is still facing furlough and some other
Mhm.
challenges right now that are a little
Mhm.
bit ominous and when you're
Yeah.
not in control of those. And
Mhm.
so we just feel like that as we buy, we're helping our local people here by buying from them, but then
Mhm.
we're giving healthy product back out. So people think, well, I can't give a whole lot. Well, if five people give $5, that's a pound of chicken, and
Mhm.
that's 750 10-pound bags of chicken that people
Yeah.
get, right? So we
Mhm.
say every penny matters. And so whether
Mhm.
it's a lemonade stand for $1.38, and I'm going to buy as much peanut butter with that as I can, or maybe it's somebody who they say, hey, I'm going to give $25 a month. And that's
Mhm.
750 10-pound bags of chicken. So everybody can do a little bit, and then we all add it together. It really makes a huge difference.
So slow that down just a little bit. How much money does it cost to buy how much chicken?
Chicken changes in price. Right now, today, I can buy drumsticks, 2 pounds for 57 cents. So,
Okay.
but sometimes I buy a 10-pound bag of chicken leg quarters and I can get 750 10-pound bags of chicken leg quarters for right at 25, 27, $28. It just depends on the market, how it fluctuates. And
Mm-hmm.
those are missing some skin. They might be missing a wing, but I
Mm-hmm.
skin my chicken before I cook it anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
they just helped you in the
That's
process,
right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we buy a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
We try to support our local farmers, but we also have some very generous local farmers who give to
Mm.
us at no cost.
Oh,
And so
wow.
that's a huge blessing to have
Mm-hmm.
a huge selection of squash and zucchini and apples and
Mm-hmm.
fresh corn and vegetables that people really love and really need, but locally grown. That's just a gift. So we live in a pocket of generosity. Huntsville is
Yes.
such a generous community,
Mm-hmm.
and that goes from our farmers to our school students to
Mm-hmm.
we have many college campus students here that come and volunteer their time. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of our National Honor Society students will come and
Mm-hmm.
volunteer their time in sports teams.
Yeah.
And so maybe you're not giving food, but you're giving your time. And that's just as essential because we need
Mm-hmm.
people to help carry those groceries out to the
Mm-hmm.
vehicles for people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people are coming while they're on chemo or dialysis and they
Mm-hmm.
really don't have the strength to carry it back to their car. So that young strapping kid
Mm-hmm.
who grabs that box and says, can I carry this for you, it just brightens their day. They're like, yeah, that'd be amazing,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
cabbage weighs a lot and potatoes weigh a
Right.
lot and onions weigh a lot. And so
Mm-hmm.
I love that you're giving whatever you can give, whether that's your time, your skill set, or maybe it's financially. And I have some people who can no longer come and serve in person. They're taking care of an elderly parent or a spouse that's struggling physically
Mm-hmm.
with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And they'll give money because they want to still support it. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's a win for them. So
Mm-hmm.
we just say support us however you feel led to, and whatever you do is a blessing.
Yes, that is amazing. Well, and I know that you guys have some large freezers. You have the capacity of accepting frozen goods, correct?
Yes, that's right. We have a
Hmm.
walk-in freezer and a walk-in cooler too.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I know years ago when my children were little, I remember a conversation with their pediatrician that really frozen might be better than canned because it's picked at the peak of ripeness, and then frozen and you're not using preservatives or it's not just sitting in a can. So that's in essence, I guess, probably the next closest thing to fresh in a
That's
way.
correct. Yes,
Yeah.
when we run out of like a fresh product, then we go to
Mhm.
the frozen product because it
Mhm.
is healthier. And if you're on dialysis, you're going to have to wash that canned vegetable 3 or 4 times to get all that salt residue off. When you go
Mm.
frozen, there's no salt residue to rinse off. So
Oh,
we love
wow.
to do fresh fruits and we love to do frozen fruits and we love to do fresh green beans,
Yeah.
but we like to do frozen green beans. So we have all
Yeah.
kinds of options. Some people really don't have a large capacity to store food. And so
Mhm.
they're going to come 2 or 3 times a month until they
Yeah.
get on their feet.
A lot of times people think, oh, well, Manna House feeds the homeless. Well, let's walk that back because that's not necessarily the only people you feed. As a matter of fact, what would you say is your maybe percentage of homeless versus people that are just maybe food insecure, they need food, but they're not necessarily homeless. Would you happen to know that
Sure.
amount?
We do a needs assessment every year,
Mhm.
and our needs
Okay.
assessment this year shows that 78% of the people who are coming to us to get assistance have a
Mhm.
full-time job. Many of them have a
Mhm.
part-time job in addition to their full-time job. So
Yeah.
they're struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah.
18% are being treated for a terminal illness. So they're having to
Mhm.
take off work due to chemo or not feeling well after chemo or
Mhm.
radiation. 14% are veterans, and they may have some struggles with PTSD. So they've
Mhm.
taken 2 or 3 days off of work, and now they're trying to ramp up and get back on their feet. So a lot of our clients are like that. We also have people that are homeless. They're couch surfing, staying with friends. They've lost where they
Mhm.
live, or they're living out of their car with their kids, or they're
Mhm.
living in a tent, or they're living in a camper.
Mhm.
They're welcome too, but many of them have a full-time job. They
Mhm.
just don't have a full-time place to live. So their
Mhm.
type of food need is going to be different. They need
Mhm.
pop top cans. They need something they can eat right then. So we do a lot of hot meals. We do a lot of salads. So when you come through the line, you can just get something to eat, and maybe you don't need groceries. You just need bananas, apples, oranges, fresh fruits, to
Mhm.
eat.
Yeah.
We have a lot of kids that are living in hotels with their families right now, and those are
Mhm.
considered homeless because they
Mhm.
don't have a permanent residence. And so
Mhm.
they again need a different type of food. So we try to
Mhm.
have a variety of choices so that you
Mhm.
can pick the type of food that's best for you and your family to eat.
Okay. Okay. Wow. You're saying a lot of things that I guess I don't think about. Like for example, the dialysis and the canned foods with the salts, I never would have thought about that. Um, but yeah, so that it sounds like you are really helping people in need of foods that meet a certain requirement. And isn't it interesting? I've thought about this recently that, uh what seems to be super perfectly healthy for one person is just totally unhealthy for another.
That's
We're just
right.
kind of all different in our health
Right.
journeys as far as that goes. So that's great that you guys are very sensitive to that and you're trying to find ways to meet those specific needs. Um, is there anything, I know you've probably learned some things about dealing with people in these situations. What are some other interesting things maybe that you've learned about uh, helping people in need over the years?
I think the greatest thing that has impacted my personal life is how much people really care and how much compassion they have for others. Just simply coming in the door and saying, "Hey, I brought 100 toboggans that I
Mhm.
crocheted," and keeping somebody
Oh,
warm, which keeps them well, which
yeah.
keeps them at work, right?
Hmm.
And I have a lady who does that, and I have another lady who does a coat drive every year for us, and giving somebody a warm coat again keeps them their body temperature up, so they're not going to get sick, so they're not going to be
Hmm.
out of work, their kids aren't going to be out of school. um, Feminine supplies, I never would have thought that was a need, but a girl who doesn't have that won't go to school, and she misses 3 or 4 days of school every month. That really is a detriment to her. And
Horrible.
so I have groups that just bring me those type items to be able
Hmm.
to give out and meet that need.
Hmm.
I just so touched by the love and compassion
Hmm.
that people really have for other people.
Hmm.
And we don't hear that on the news. We don't see
No.
that on social media, but
Hmm.
I love that I get to experience that every day. And it's just very heartwarming. It
Yeah.
refuels me. People are like,
Hmm.
how do you keep doing what you're doing? Well, how would you
Hmm.
not? I go out and
Right.
blessed every day going, wow, I live in the best place I could ever live.
Hmm.
And I love our businesses in our community. They're so
Hmm.
focused on giving
Hmm.
service and helping others. And
Hmm.
they truly care about their employees.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that is remarkable as well.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
love our community, and I
Oh,
love
yeah.
the level of caring for one another that goes on
Hmm.
here day after
Hmm.
day.
And you get to witness that. I guess that is true because you get to be that sort of an instrument to distribute things, but at the same time, you're seeing both sides of it. That is exciting. I know, I was a public school teacher for many years, and I remember, when I would see kids in need, or I don't even know if you can give presents anymore to the teachers, sadly, but I mean, I think that's something kids enjoyed. But like at Christmas, occasionally I would have students come in and give me these little gifts that, I mean, one in particular, they handed it to me. I opened it. It was like a little brooch, and it was obviously not new, but they were watching the expression on my face and just wanted to see how I responded. It turns out it had been something that had belonged to their grandmother and was very precious to them. And they wanted to give it to me. And I just, just when you see somebody showing you love in the best way that they possibly can, and it just gives you the motivation to keep going. And that's one of the things that kept me going as a teacher, was knowing I felt that what I was doing was so important, and that a lot of the kids in that community where I served, they got up every day, and school was like the highlight of their day. It was just a great thing. Now, to contrast that, I know it's not like that in every situation, but I do know that I can see how you would be motivated seeing how you're meeting these needs, and that people really, really need what you're doing. Um, it's, I'm sure, very satisfying. So, what are some things that people can be doing? I know you've already mentioned some things, but maybe practically right now. And you mentioned furlough, which hopefully that's going to be uh, ending soon, but it looks like we're seeing signs of that. So, but well, number one, how much has that impacted the services that you've had to provide? And then number two, what do you see going forward from this point into the colder months that where you may have needs?
We're just there to meet whatever need. And I have a
Mhm.
lot of people who came to get food for their family and
Mhm.
then said, "Hey, you need help, and we're going to stay and help." And they would go put their food in the car and come back in and work for 30 minutes and then
Mhm.
leave. And so it's actually brought some extra volunteers, but also they're not doing anything. So they want to come and work. Some people are
Yeah.
furloughed, are at work every day, even though they're not getting
Mhm.
paid, but some are not. And they're like, "Hey, I need something productive to do." And so
Mhm.
that's been a real blessing for us.
Mhm.
But there's been a lot of people that, they paid their mortgage, they paid their insurance, they paid their cell phone bill, but here they are. Now they really don't have the funds to buy food. And so they're in the line. And that's what
Mhm.
we're here for. So we're
Mhm.
glad to help with that. We always see an increase in the winter months. Utility bills go up. People
Mhm.
tend to get sick and they got to pay those
Mhm.
co-pays. And so now they're suddenly with us. We always have Thanksgiving and Christmas,
Mhm.
and those are expensive meals to buy. So sometimes you don't need help with the meat, you just need some of those sides. And sometimes
Mhm.
you need help with the meat, but you got the
Mhm.
money for the sides.
Mhm.
In America, we think we got to have food at Thanksgiving and
Mhm.
gifts at Christmas.
Mhm.
And so we do Christmas blessing to
Mhm.
try to help mitigate for the child who would not have anything for Christmas. So
Mhm.
last year, that was 2,864 children whose parents stood in line for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours just to
Mhm.
come through and get something so our children would have Christmas. And people are like,
Mhm.
"Well, how do you know they didn't need it?" I don't think most people would stand in line that long in the cold,
Mhm.
in the rain, if they didn't
Mhm.
need it. Um,
Mhm.
Most of the families who came through were people who had had a sudden loss of a loved one, and their
Mhm.
income level had totally got cut in half, or
Mhm.
worse yet, they themselves had lost their job and they
Mhm.
just didn't know where to go. It was too late to sign up for, all the other groups that normally can help with that. And so they
Mhm.
stood in line because that's what they
Mhm.
needed. So we
Mhm.
we, we want people to feel hope and
Mhm.
encouragement and not
Mhm.
desperation. And so I don't really know. No one knows what's the future, and I'm glad I
Mhm.
don't know the future. I'm just going to go with God.
Yeah,
But
right.
I do think that we're here to try to mitigate whatever that need is that they have, so that they
Mhm.
keep feeling encouraged and feel hopeful about the future and going
Mhm.
into the new year.
Mhm. Well, and some of the things you said, you've got people that maybe they've been recipients of Manna House's blessings, if you will, and they've turned around and now they're volunteers.
Mhm.
And does that give you hope as well, seeing that these people that one time needed it no longer do?
Absolutely. So I've got people that 21 years ago we helped them in their crisis, and they're still coming once a week to volunteer. And people that
Okay.
15 years ago we helped them in their crisis, and they're still coming to volunteer. So sometimes we have a lot of volunteers, but
Mhm.
I think it's wonderful,
Mhm.
and they're creative enough to find other things in the building that need to be done, and
Mhm.
so I love that. But
Yeah.
really, that's the big part of Manna House is that
Yeah.
you come and you get, and then sometimes people come and get food and it's not even for them. It's to take
Hmm.
to a neighbor or to someone
Hmm.
that's had a loss or to come get a couple of hot meals to drop off somebody
Hmm.
who's had surgery. I think that's wonderful. I just love that
Hmm.
we really take care of each other.
Hmm. Well, even in the name Manna House, you think about the biblical story of manna in the wilderness, and really and truly, manna, was provided for the Israelites as they were, traversing the promised land, and they complained about it sometimes because they didn't have a lot of variety, but God made it fresh, every day. But if they tried to store it away, then it would rot, And so
Right.
it sounds like you guys are meeting a fresh need with fresh food. And then it's sort of like living water in a sense. You're kind of providing something to give them what they need in that moment, and it's not like it's going to be something they're going to receive all the time because they're not going
Right.
to always be in that situation. They're
That's right.
just in a phase of life where they need some help. And I love that whole concept of how Manor House functions, and that it's really based upon that similar principle in the Old Testament of the Bible, uh, after which it is named. So that is great. So I guess if our audience remembers just one thing about you and about Manor House, what would it be?
That we all have an opportunity and a responsibility to take care of each other. And just look every day for that opportunity that God's putting in front of you and reach out and meet that need, whether it's food or a hug or a word of encouragement.
Okay, okay, yes. And sometimes those things like that hug or that word of encouragement are just as much food to our souls, right, as physical food might be.
That's right.
Okay. And then where can people find you if they need to get, well, your physical location, that might be a good start. Where are you located?
Sure. So our main location is at 2110 South Memorial Parkway in Huntsville. We are behind Levity Live Comedy Club and to the right of Life Church. We're in a two-story light tan metal warehouse. It's about 5,000 square feet. If you're coming to volunteer, just come in the door on the side where there's no awning. If you're coming to get food, we do food Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 to 6. We do a drive-through food distribution on Saturday mornings, 10 to 11. People are welcome to come for either or. If they need to come and get food, come and get it. If they're just coming to volunteer, then just jump in and come do that. There's no sign up required. We do have a bunch of hubs around Madison County, so people don't have to drive in. But we say come to the main location first because we want you to identify with our culture that we're here to love on people and make them feel appreciated and seen. And then if you want to volunteer at the indoor hydroponic garden, that's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8 to 12:30. And you can again go to the website. We have websites for all of our places, and it's mymannahouse.com because the minute you come, it's your Manna House. And so we love to have people jump on the website. It's got all the details. If we're ever closed, it's always posted there. So we'll be closed on Thanksgiving Day, but other holidays will be open. So just reach out and come join us. We'd love to have you.
Okay, that is so great. And yes, you've got that hydroponic garden, or is that it's all hydroponic?
Correct. There's no
Okay.
dirt in the building, so you don't have the threat of E. coli, Listeria,
Okay.
Salmonella, Shigella. So our chemo patients, dialysis patients are able to take that product and eat it with great confidence that there's nothing that's going to make them sick.
Okay.
When we harvest it, we dip it in an ice water vat, and it shocks the root, which locks in the nutrient, which makes it last about 4 to 6 weeks in your refrigerator, so it doesn't go bad. And if you're juicing, you can juice the whole thing. So it's a great way to serve the community. It's indoors. So even with the cold weather, it's only 72 degrees inside. It's not too hot, not too cold. And you can come out and jump in and help serve in any capacity, whether you're just planting seeds or helping harvest or sweeping the floor,
So is it
whatever.
primarily lettuce that's grown in the hydroponic garden?
Yes. So
Okay.
during COVID, we grew strawberries and green beans and lettuce, but now you
Mhm.
can buy all that in the store, so that's not needed. So we grow fusion romaine, which is a dark, dense nutrient romaine, and our chemo patients really need that. And
Mhm.
so that was recommended to us. We didn't think of that ourselves, and we said, sure, we can grow that. And so the whole garden produces that product.
Well, I don't guess that I really realized until this interview how involved you were with helping people on chemo and dialysis. So that's something that I've learned through this. And I think that's wonderful because people going through that, many times they can't work, or maybe if they are working, they, have to really limit their hours potentially, and they could need these resources for sure.
That's right.
Okay, well, I'm going to, for everybody watching, I'm going to put the address of the main Manna House in the comments of this video, and then we'll also include any websites so that you can reach out. And if you need food, and that's what I love too, is that, people don't feel shame in coming in there, and y'all don't make them feel that way.
That's right.
And you just make them feel loved, right? And then also, you can always go from being a recipient to being a server. And then the ones who are serving just come to do it out of the goodness of their hearts and with a spirit of love. And, Fran, Manna House is just one of the gems in the crown of Huntsville, if there is a crown. Huntsville is just got so many amazing organizations, but this is one that really stands out to me as being just the hands and feet of Jesus and really serving the community. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me to join you today.
You're most welcome. And you have a blessed rest of your day.
Thank you.